Miss Lexi Carr, founder of the Survivor Girls Club. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You were 18, junior year of high school.
Senior year.
Senior year of high school.
Uh-huh.
You got cancer.
Yep. The way I found out, I had a small bump on my collarbone right here. You can see the scar on my left collarbone. So this was November 2010 when I had noticed the bump, and then February 2011 was when I finally had the biopsy.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die from cancer. That was never a thought either. There was times where I did feel really bad. 100%. There was probably some of the darkest moments in my life were wrapped up in some of these times when I was going through these crazy treatments and stuff.
So luckily I never had to do radiation because it was localized, it didn't spread anywhere else. But the type of cancer it is, it's really aggressive. So even though mine was localized, the chance of one little cell getting out and spreading was extremely high.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Today I have an extremely special guest with me, Miss Lexi Carr, founder of the Survivor Girls Club. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I'm just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna get it started.
Yeah.
The first question that I have for you is if you had any advice for somebody that's going through a tough challenge in their lives, what advice would that be?
Honestly, it'd be just take it one day at a time. When you are struggling with something massive or huge and just extremely challenging, it's hard to just not look at the bigger picture, and it feels very overwhelming in that sense. I feel like a lot of us, me especially, I fall into just all or nothing mindset. So it's just kind of easy when you're going through hard times to be either it's really, really bad or it's going to get really, really good. So I would say when I was going through my treatment, the thing that really got me through it was just taking it one day at a time. And it's more and more doable and feasible from there on out. And you're okay, this day sucked, but guess what? Tomorrow is a brand new day, so we get a restart. So I'd say that's typically the broadest, most generic piece of advice I can give anybody who's going through a hard time.
Yeah, that's cool. I definitely agree with that. It's super important to take things one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reading about that. I'm reading this book. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics right now, and it talks about just taking everything one step at a time.
It's so
because
cliche,
that's all you can actually do.
Yeah, literally. It's so cliche, but it's really all you can do.
Yeah, right. And if you start to, because I would imagine most people have so many things that they want to get done or are trying to get done. And if you start thinking about all of those things at one time, it gets extremely overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's how you get anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But then also sometimes then you kind of get frozen because you're thinking about all these
That's
things
me.
and then right
and then
you actually do nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm big on keeping my life simple. I am super big on that. If you ask anybody, I always tell them yeah, dude, I just keep it simple.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal for me. I think life can get extremely complicated if you make it complicated.
Oh yeah.
So I try to keep it simple.
Just gotta trim the fat.
Right. So you were 18, junior year of high school.
Senior year.
You got cancer. Senior year of high school.
Uh-huh.
You got cancer.
Yep.
Right. So I know you spoke about, and I know you probably still think about that day when you went to the hospital and you learned that you had cancer. Can you kind of reflect on that day and kind of just give us a take on what you think about that day now?
Yeah, definitely. So the way I found out, I had a small bump on my collarbone right here. You can see the scar on my left collarbone. So this was November 2011 when I had noticed the bump, and then I didn't have surgery for a biopsy on the tumor until February. November 2010, and then February 2011 was when I finally had the biopsy, and the test results came back. I was at school that day, and the oncologist had called my mom while I was at school and just dropped that bomb of a news on her. Leading up to that biopsy, all the doctors and people were saying was like, oh, worst case scenario, it's cancer, maybe it's lymphoma. It was just such a weird spot for a tumor. Literally everyone was saying like, oh, it's a swollen joint, oh, it's just a little like benign tumor. Like, just no one really figured it would be anything as serious as the cancer that I got diagnosed with. So literally up until the day I was diagnosed, did not even think about it, except um, I'll come back to this point after I finish my story. But yeah, I was at school and I came home from school. My dad had come home from work because my mom was like, you need to come home. And they sat me down once I got home, and then she's like, just basically dropped the news on me. It was like, the doctor called. It's called Ewing Sarcoma, blah blah. It's all just like a full on blur at that point. Because still in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I was not expecting the cancer word. Even then, I was like, because I was 18, super healthy, never had health issues in my entire life, and I even was just like thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if it's cancer, it can't be the serious kind. Like, I'm not gonna be like losing all my hair. Like, that's where my mind went. I'm like, that's like old people get cancer. Like, what? No. Like, have you seen me? So like, not an old person, but yeah. So it was just really surreal, and I broke down. I was just extremely confused. Obviously, we didn't have any answers yet because we hadn't met with the doctors, and from that point, we're like, we have to go to the doctors today. Like, it all just happened so fast because the cancer that I had was really aggressive. So we went straight to CHOC, which is a Children's Hospital in Orange County in SoCal, and because it's considered a pediatric bone cancer, it was Ewing sarcoma. And like I said, everything just happened so fast that first day. Like, boom, got me in for scans. All the doctors came in. Like, it was just like, da 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 da. Like, my head was just like literally spinning. Um, and yeah, the doctors came in. They're like, here's your treatment plan. This type of cancer it is. Here are the survival rates. You won't be able to go back to school. You're not going to be able to go start college with everybody else in the fall. You're going to lose all your hair. You're going to do this. You can't do that, blah, blah. And it was just a lot to handle. Like I said, just I was not prepared for that at all. And as you can imagine, like an 18-year-old girl, like, I already had my college set up. I had, like, at the time I was dating like the star baseball player on the high school team. Like, I just had my whole life. I was in a movie. And then this got dropped on me, and I was like, wait, but it's a 4-day weekend this weekend? Does this mean I don't get to do all the things I thought I was gonna do? Remember, that's like what my brain was going towards. So I'm like, wait, but it's a 4-day weekend. Like, what do you mean I'm gonna have to be in the hospital this whole time? What do you mean I'm not going back to school on Monday? Like, it was just, yeah, it was a wild.
Yeah. So you said you had, it's called Ewing
Ewing
sarcoma.
sarcoma. Mm-hmm.
Ewing. So like, what is that for anybody that like doesn't know what sarcoma is, or specifically that type of sarcoma? Could you explain? Like, I don't really actually understand what, I've never heard of Ewing sarcoma
But
before.
you've heard of sarcoma.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, essentially, like, similar to sarcoma, it's a cancer of like the bones and like bones and something tissues. I don't know, but I know that Ewing sarcoma is. I should probably like Google this, but whatever. It's cancer of the bones and like tissues and stuff. So I think it's considered Ewing's because of like the size of the bone it was on versus,
Okay.
osteosarcoma is on like the bigger bones, like the femur and the
Hmm.
hips and stuff like that. So that's my understanding of it. I even did like a
Right.
full
Yeah.
research paper of it in college, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a much better definition of it, but that's just my
No,
basic understanding.
no, that's super helpful. I don't think anybody watching this is going to need a super high level or ever going to be dealing with
But you'd be
any
like,
type of
actually,
sarcoma in in their life. But I can totally relate to you. I was 19 when I got cancer, when I was
Mhm.
diagnosed with cancer. I was in college. I was in my second year of college.
Yeah,
I and I took 2 years off.
yeah,
I took 2 years off. I because you didn't know what to expect,
yeah. No, and that's really
right?
hard. You're like, I can't juggle all of this. That's insane.
Yeah. I did not know what to expect. I didn't know, like, everybody hears cancer and it seems like this serious thing.
Hmm.
I guess, had like a curable cancer,
Yeah,
so I guess that was like a good thing as far that's like what my doctor kind of told me, like, hey, as far as cancers go, this is maybe something that's not the worst cancer to
yeah.
get, which I guess was cool, but actually did not benefit me at all.
You're
Like,
like, gee, thanks. Easy for you to say. Like, you're not the one getting diagnosed with cancer. Like, that's such a
right.
weird thing to say. Like, I understand they're trying to like make you feel better, but still, it's like a little condescending. We're like,
Yeah.
this still sucks.
And on top of that, like there's a 70% like success rate on that first treatment, and I was the 30%.
Oh gosh.
So like I have actually friends and other guests that I've interviewed, and we had the same cancers, we went
Mm,
through the same treatments. They beat cancer in like 6 months in that first 6 month treatment.
yeah.
It took me a total of like 10 years
Oh my
to overcome
gosh.
cancer eventually.
What was the cancer?
So I had Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay. Dang, yeah, 10 years is wild. That's long.
Well, it was basic. It was more like 7 years because for 3 of those years I was in remission, and
Hmm.
basically I had like a recurrence,
Yeah.
and it came back, and then I had to deal with it again. And so, all in all, it was like a 10-year process of continuously dealing with cancer,
Yeah.
and now I'm cancer
Oh,
free, going on like 5 years.
that's so
This is the
exciting. Well, yeah, five
this is
years is
like
the official, like, you are free.
Yeah, this is like the longest time as an adult that
Yeah.
I've ever been cancer free in
That's
my life.
awesome.
So, but I can totally relate to you on being so young, getting cancer, having like some FOMO,
Yeah.
like you were saying,
Yeah.
because all of your friends
Hmm.
are
Life
doing
goes
all their
on.
things.
Life
Life goes
moves on
on.
without you, whether you like it or not. And that, for an 18, 19-year-old, that freaking sucks.
It sucks. I'm at the point where I'm about to get through college and then start a career. I
Yeah.
can finally start making money.
Yeah.
And so all of that was paused,
Yeah.
right? So I totally get you on that. That was definitely tough for me at the time to
Hmm.
definitely understand. Looking back now and where I'm at right now, like I feel good about it,
Yeah.
but at the time was definitely super hard.
Hmm.
I couldn't. It just sucked.
Yeah.
It just sucked.
Yeah.
It was
That's
and
awful.
right, there was things like when I was 21, I couldn't really like
Yeah, that's
have
when you're like, oh, I want to
like
go
a
out to the
huge
bars. I want
21.
to do bar crawl. I
Yeah.
want to go to Vegas. Like, well, that's the thing. It's like, it sounds stupid coming from, like, after we're out on the other end. It's like, oh, what we went through was really insane and challenging, and most people can't live through that. But, like, the versions of ourselves in that moment, like, that's, you just want to be normal so badly. So those little tiny stupid things are just still so important to you because that's what you want to cling to for any sense of normalcy, and that just is taken away from you without any say in the matter, and that just sucks even more. So
Yeah, that's 100%.
yeah.
I say it all the time is I always tried to find a sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
And I always tried to do as much as I could, similar to like you explained when you felt good,
Yeah.
like you would do as much as you could. I played a lot of basketball. I didn't work out as much or lift a lot of weights, so I played a lot of basketball.
Hmm.
That's what helped me stay normal. What kind of things did you do to help give you a sense of normalcy, to help you still feel like you are a human being because you are still a
Yeah.
normal human
No, I mean,
being,
that's
right?
awesome you're still able to do basketball and stuff. I so my obviously my treatment wasn't like 7 to 10 years long. Mine was about mine was like 8, 9-ish months, but it was
Mm.
really severe treatment. Like they just hit me hard, like bam, 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 like back to back to back. So I would be in, like, my treatment plan would alternate between a 3 day chemo drip in the hospital and a 5 day chemo drip in the hospital. And then so I would be in the hospital for like 3 to 4 days getting chemo, send me home. I'd be home for about like 2-ish weeks when I'd get extremely sick. And then once like my counts came back up, they're like, great, back in the hospital you go. So that was just like, that was a cycle for like 8 or 9 months. So I didn't really have a whole lot of long or good windows of good days. Like when I say good, I literally had like maybe 1 or 2 good days like being at home during just like a cycle period. So I mean, I think I did like an at home yoga DVD like once, and then I was like, nah, I'm tired. But I mean, like I said, at the time I had like my high school boyfriend, and like he was really good about just kind of taking me out and like doing fun things, like going to the OC Fair, going to the beach, or the zoo or something like that. So we would just try like as many things as you can do as like an 18-year-old. You know, you're just those are the days when you're like, let's go get froyo, stuff like that. But other than that, I was just so sick and so weak, and I couldn't really do much. And obviously, like I couldn't be out and about and like around a lot of people. I went to Disneyland once because I was able to take advantage of the front of the line pass, you know. But other than that, like as far as like staying true to hobbies or just trying to, I think that season of my life I was just resting and just
Mm.
holed up and just so focused on getting better.
Yeah. And that was obviously the most important part.
Yeah.
I know, I know like I would go through cycles. So like my my first chemo treatment was it was like an every other week thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would have chemo. I would feel good for like a day, but
Yeah.
then I would feel bad for like probably 2 or 3 days. Then I would kind of bounce back a little bit. Then right, you got to go back again.
Mm-hmm.
I did have like super intense treatments of chemo
Yeah.
where and like full body radiation treatments
Oh
where
gosh.
because I had to do 2 bone marrow transplants. And so in order to do a bone marrow transplant, they not only kill all the chemo in your I mean all the cancer cells in your body, they kill all the cells in your body so
Mm-hmm.
that you can't detect any cells
Well, yeah,
in
that's where
your
all our
body.
hair went.
Yeah, right. So I was bald,
Yeah.
I had no energy,
Yeah.
I was nauseous,
Yeah.
stuff
Your
like
white blood
that.
cell count just zero.
Did you have to give yourself Neupogen shots?
I don't is I forget what it's called, but yeah, my mom had to give me my shots. Ugh. Even just
Because,
thinking about it, like, whoa. Ugh.
dude, I hated giving myself, I couldn't give myself
I
my
didn't
own
give them to
shots.
myself.
Yeah.
I did like the little, I'm blanking on what it's called, but it's like this little plastic thing, and it's like they just stick it in your skin so that you can just insert the needle into the plastic thing, and then instead of like
Oh,
stabbing
okay.
yourself, you only have to stab yourself once, and then I forget what it was, but even just like I can still feel the needle going into that thing, and whoa, it was disgusting. Like, and yeah, we had. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't have to do it every day, but you know, like the first few days that you're home, you give that to yourself until your blood count. And that was the thing too. It's like, yeah, you're home and you're not attached to an IV, but you still have to go into the clinic. Like a couple days after you, it's like it's just so annoying. You're like, I just want to stay home and chill, but it's like, what do you mean I have to get in the car with my barf bucket and show up, and you guys just have to like take more of my blood and poke me more? It's stupid, but it was
No,
rough.
it is.
You know what I mean?
And
You
like
know what I mean?
even like I remember like on my way to my chemo treatment, not even like I have not gotten any chemo,
Yeah.
none of that. Like on the way, I'm starting to feel sick
Yeah.
because my mind is already
The
triggered and
smells.
like understand the
The smells of
smells.
even just the waiting room or the doctor's office, and the smell of like when they do the saline flush in your port and you just feel it in your like sinuses. Oh my
You're
gosh.
sick. You're already sick.
Yeah, I'm like, give me my barf bucket now. Like, I like there are some smells where like my mom would bring in the like Febreze plugins to kind of just like mask hospital smells, but even that just made me nauseous because I was just like you just associate certain smells with like just the
Yeah.
hospital and like feeling so gross. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the worst. And like, yeah, and I don't necessarily really like going to hospitals anymore because I've spent so much time in the hospital that it just kind of, I mean, like, I guess you could say it's like traumatic
Yeah, just a little.
because, yeah, you could say it's traumatic because it was like just a crazy time in your life
Yeah,
and
you're in survival mode.
you don't want to try to like relive those or anything like that.
No.
Um, all of the sensories, the smells, the views, the everything, and then like you start tasting
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
It's just really bad.
yeah. It's disgusting. I'm like picturing those hospital rooms too. I'm like,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
So I know also outside of chemo, you had to get a surgery as well on your collarbone to basically like remove some of the sarcoma. Was that a trial surgery as well? Or
No, that was just part of like the
okay.
full protocol. So like what
Hmm.
my treatment protocol was 6 rounds of chemo, and then so luckily I never had to do radiation because it was localized. It didn't spread anywhere else. But
That's
the type of cancer it is, it's like it's really aggressive. So even though mine was localized, like the chance of like one little cell getting out and spreading was like extremely high. And so because I was getting treated at a children's hospital, they take like they're really serious about like their protocols. Like they're like I don't care if it's localized or stage 2, whatever, like everyone's getting like the full treatment board. So it was 6 rounds of chemo and then surgery and then 8 rounds of chemo as like cleanup. So the thing was, like after my 6 rounds, my cancer responded really well to the chemo, and they my necrosis going like coming out of surgery was literally 100%. Like wasn't like 92, 98. It was 100%. Like nothing's lighting up as far as like cancer cells go after they removed 2.5 inches of my collarbone. So the tumor was just sitting right on my collarbone. They cut off 2.5 inches. They took a picture of it for me. It literally looked like a chicken wing. They took it out, and then yeah, they just assessed everything. 100% necrosis. They're like sick, and then they hit me with 8 more rounds of chemo after that. Just like I said, as cleanup to make sure nothing got out. So those 8 rounds after were just really brutal. I'm sure you can relate. Just like towards the end, your body just so broken down and beaten up at that point, and just the bounce back time is way longer than it was at first. But
At first.
I
It
mean,
wears on you.
yeah,
It
yeah,
yeah, it gets like it starts to get heavy.
yeah. Physically and emotionally, like obviously emotionally, but physically, like I was getting awful, like mouth sores and like just other gross TMI issues and just like, yeah, it's just extremely weak and it's rough towards the end for sure.
So when you say necrosis, right, you just mean like you got a clear scan? Like what does that mean?
I don't know. No, just
Okay.
I think yeah, when they go in for surgery, I think they take out some tissues that are like still in there and they send it back to like the lab and then the lab kind of runs in. They're like, are there any cancer cells still alive in this? And they'll come back and be like, nope, all clear.
Okay, cool.
And that's my
Man, yeah,
understanding.
dude, that's cool though. Like, I mean, like I told you my story, and originally what it was is I did that original treatment, and there was 70%
Yeah.
chance of me, you know, responding extremely well. And I actually initially did
Yeah.
respond like really well to the treatment on the first scan.
Yeah.
And then like we got another scan and they were like, "Oh no, it's kind of like coming back."
Ugh.
We tried like some other
What
treatments.
was
I
that like
basically
finding out that like it was coming back?
it was just it was just confusing. It was confusing, like just like you. It wasn't hereditary. It
Hmm.
wasn't like anything in the environment, I guess, that
Yeah, but you're
causes
like,
my
I
cancer.
haven't done anything. It's not like I'm.
I'm a right, like I'm super healthy. I work out all the time. I've played sports all my life. Like like it did not make sense. Even when I first got cancer and the doctors told me, well, when I first knew I had cancer, basically similar to you, like I had a lump in my neck. I had a
Mhm.
lump on the left side of my neck. I thought it was just a knot in my neck. I went to my chiropractor.
I
I
went to a
wanted him to rub
chiropractor
it out.
too. They literally were
Yeah.
adjusting my collarbone, and it hurt so bad because it was like my collarbone was deteriorating under a tumor. But
Uh-huh. Yeah. Like I went to my chiropractor, they couldn't rub it out. They were like, you need to go to a doctor. I go to my urgent care doctor. At this point, like I live in Las Vegas. I
okay,
was in college
yeah,
in Las Vegas, but I'm from Portland, Oregon.
okay,
And so I went back home for the holidays because it didn't seem like an like extreme emergency,
yeah.
right? So I didn't just like go back right immediately. I went back whenever I went back for the holidays, saw my urgent care doctor, and he immediately knew.
Mm.
He's just a urgent care doctor. He's not like my primary care
Yeah,
doctor. He's never seen me before in his life. He immediately knew. He asked me if he wanted me he wanted me to give him he asked me if it was okay for him to give me his opinion,
yeah.
right? And so I was like, "Yeah, I want to know your opinion. Like, what is going on? Like, what is this?" And he was like, "I think you have cancer." He
Oh
he
my
definitely knew. He was
gosh.
like, "I can't diagnose you. We have to run tests and biopsies and all kinds of stuff, but you have cancer. I've seen this
Yeah,
before." And I did not believe him.
yeah.
And then like right, I do the biopsies and
Hmm.
whatever, and sure enough, I did. He was all the way right. I totally had cancer, and I just couldn't believe it. Right, I couldn't believe it. And then when I was going through the treatments, and like it just wouldn't go away. I
Yeah.
was like, I did that first treatment, it didn't work. I did some radiation, it didn't work. Then eventually I did like it was more of a newer like immunotherapy was
Mhm.
newer then. This was probably maybe like 2019. It was before COVID,
Hmm.
right? And so immunotherapy was still new, and it was like research done that had shown that like maybe it could help. So we did it and it worked,
Yeah.
right? And then I did a bone marrow transplant, and then the bone marrow transplant didn't work.
Oh
And
gosh.
then so the immune therapy got me into remission for 3 years, and then it came back again,
Oh my
right? And
gosh.
then I did another bone marrow transplant. And so like I'm healthy now, which is super cool and
Yeah.
super exciting. But every time it came back in my mind, it was like, okay, well, I've already beaten this.
Yeah.
Like, let's beat this again.
Yeah.
Like, and even when I first found out, I remember my dad asked me because my parents were super concerned, right? I'm like super young, I'm 19. My parents were like, dude, like, how are you feeling? Like, you have cancer. And I remember telling my dad, like, I don't know what's going on. I feel pretty good. Like, we just gotta do whatever we need to
Hmm.
do to beat this.
You
Like,
don't have a choice.
right, you have no choice.
Yeah.
But I also never was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die from
Yeah.
cancer. Like that
Yeah.
was never a thought either. And I never felt that feeling. There was times where I did feel really bad,
Yeah.
100%. But I never quit and was like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to get to the other side of this. that
Hmm.
was that was not a thing for me. I could imagine how that could be a thing for somebody. I did go through some pretty crazy things that I there was probably like some of the darkest moments in my life.
Yeah.
100% were wrapped up in some of these times when I was going
Hmm.
through these crazy treatments and stuff. But yeah, I was always just like, man, I got to just beat this again,
You just,
right?
yeah,
After I had beat it once, it
yeah,
was just like, I'm just gonna keep beating this.
yeah.
It's
So
not,
there's nothing else to do. You're just like, well, all right, we're just gonna keep pushing through and chugging along. Like, it's
yeah,
just funny. People are
that's
like, you're
it.
such an inspiration. You're so brave. I'm like, what? My other option is to die. So like, yeah, I'm just gonna like,
What would you choose,
yeah,
right?
literally, like I don't have a choice. Like,
Hmm. Yeah. Um, so yeah, and that's cool. And I mean, but not everybody thinks about it like that,
yeah,
man. Like,
yeah,
not everybody is like, dude, I don't have a choice. I gotta do this, and is just willing to do that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm sure it's actually probably easier to just be a victim,
Hmm.
like you said, like woe is me,
Yeah,
and to just kind of roll over. And I assume there are some people that do that,
yeah. It definitely
and
takes like a lot. It just that mindset and like attitude shift takes a lot of energy for sure. But it's all about perspective, and definitely having a good support system helps. I mean, definitely, I'm not gonna play that down because, like you said, like these are the darkest moments in your life, and you need a good support system to like hold you up during those times. Like I can't imagine going through all of that alone.
100%. Absolutely not. I could not have done it without my parents,
Hmm.
specifically,
Yeah,
especially my mom,
yeah,
my friends, my family that were doing things to support me, my neighbors, all so much support and love was so helpful in all of this. Before we keep going down this road, I want to kind of circle back.
hmm,
Right, you were treated in a children's
yeah.
hospital. What was that like? So like for me, I was just treated in like a normal hospital. So I was always the youngest
Oh,
person
really?
in all the rooms, right? I always
Yeah.
was look at like probably kind of weird because I did
Yeah. Like,
not
what are you doing
always
here?
look like I even had cancer
Yeah.
and was always the youngest, always had the most energy.
Hmm.
All the nurses probably appreciated it because it
Yeah.
was like some fresh energy
Yeah.
in a room full of a bunch of people that were not feeling it.
Yeah.
But what was your experience as far as being treated in a children's hospital?
Well,
What
I
was that like?
mean, yeah, I mean, with I'm grateful about the like treatment protocol. Like I said, like they had their shit together for a children's hospital with my type of cancer. So I'm grateful for all of that. Obviously, like it worked. Um, I'd say it definitely they had like a teen section of the hospital, but I was definitely like this is before they redid it, and so a lot of my stays I actually had to have roommates, and a lot of the roommates were just like young girls. I mean, I don't think I was ever roomed with anyone younger than maybe like 12 or 11 or 13. So I mean, sometimes it was just like really annoying. So I'm like, oh my god, like because these some of these like patients like we're all in the same boat. We all have cancer. It all sucks. But like at the end of the day, like I'm still a teenager, and like she's still like a little like preteen, you know. At the end of the day, so it's just kind of like little things you're just like a little annoyed about, but which is kind of funny. But I mean, it did also add like a lot of perspective because on my floor there'd just be like small little bald kids just like walking the halls. They're just like that was their childhood, you know. Like they didn't get a trick or treat. They didn't get to like play outside very often. Some of them were just that was their whole life. And so especially now as a mom thinking back and even just seeing a lot of those parents just live in these hospital rooms. Like I can't imagine. I just feel so helpless. And like these kids, I granted like you and I didn't do anything to deserve cancer, but like little babies and little kids like dealing with that, like, and they really didn't do anything, you know. So it was also just kind of heartbreaking. So I feel like that gave me a whole different perspective on life. That obviously what happened to me was awful and sucked, but at the end of the day, it's like you have no reason to be grateful for every little thing in your life because it could always be worse. And that was like always what I tell people of just like who'd be, complaining or like feeling sorry for themselves, and just like it could be so much worse. Like you have so much to be grateful for. So I think, yeah, that was like the biggest thing that kind of affected me being treated at a children's hospital.
Yeah, it could always be worse. 100%.
Yeah.
I love that saying. I say it all the time, is it could always be worse. Because like you said, we are so grateful. I mean, like we have so much to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that obviously you deal with cancer and you beat cancer, your perspective changes and you're a lot more grateful for a lot of the little things that you probably stopped paying attention to as you
Mhm.
got older. I know for me, right, like even helped me have like more faith in God or whatever
Yeah.
you believe in,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Plays a big part in that too. And
Oh yeah, prayer goes a long way. I don't think I would have came out the other end of it like I did if it weren't for just prayer.
100%, I would thank God like every day that I was healthy and it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's actually pretty crazy. Like and and when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, like everything I prayed for actually happened.
Yeah.
And and like one of my favorite like interviews, I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan,
Uh huh.
and one of my favorite interviews is I forgot who was interviewing him, but he was like, "When did you know that God was great?" And Kobe Bryant says, "When you have that cross that you can't carry, and God picks up that cross and that's when you know God is great."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I grew up right like my grandfather is Islamic. My last name is Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never real super religious. I didn't go to church, but I would pray with my dad.
Yeah.
I would pray with my dad, and then as I got older, I kind of like fell out of it. Really didn't think it was like super important. And then like you get cancer, you start asking like
Yeah.
why did I get cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a good person, like
Yeah.
I'm pretty nice to
No, that's
people.
exactly what went on in my head too. I'm like, I am a good, like, I did everything right.
Right? And so it's like, but then you get past, like, because it doesn't really matter why you got cancer, you have to deal with it. And then you start really trying to figure out ways to beat and overcome cancer. And then that's when I got closer. My relationship and my faith got a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that will ever change.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason I got cancer.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, you never
Right?
know. Like looking back, it's just like, even if it's funny because like going through it, it's the most difficult thing and worst time of your life ever. But then now coming out on the other side, you're like, if I even just changed one person's life or helped one person, it kind of makes it all worth it in my eyes, you know? I'm sure it's like that's easy
Dude.
to say because now we're out of it, but like it's not like we
Yeah.
can go back to our like former selves going through it and be like, hey, trust me, like you'll be grateful you went through this. I'd be like, screw you. But but it's true.
Yeah.
And now the other side, you're just like, you know what? Like if I even could just be there for one other person going through this and make them feel supported and seen, like it's completely worth it. And you know that saying, like God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And it's like, okay, I'm flattered, but like, can you stop giving me your battle, like these battles? Like,
I get it. I'm
I
tough,
am
bro. I got
tired.
it. Yeah. No, and that's 100% why I do this podcast. But when I started this podcast, I said to myself, I'm going to do 1,000 episodes. I said, if I do 1,000 episodes and one person watches every episode, one person is inspired or motivated from each one of these episodes, then I would have helped 1,000 people. Like, I feel super good about that.
Yeah, and your
That
mom doesn't
was
count.
that right. Yeah. But and that was so that was like that was my goal with this,
Hmm.
right? And that was like lowballing myself, but I think it was important to share my story. That's why I have you here to share your story, because there are people going through challenges, not just cancer,
Yeah.
right? There's everybody is going through some type of challenge, or like, right, like what I would call a zombie
Hmm.
in their life, right? Whether that's like money, whether that's school, relationships, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Life can be tough 100%, and the goal is to inspire people that they can show up for themselves, they can overcome these challenges in their lives. You can do it,
Yeah.
you know? And so I love to hear what you said about that. How do you think attitude played a part in you overcoming cancer?
Oh, it played a huge part. Like even my nurses were saying like you have such like just having a good attitude about the whole situation just helps immensely. I mean, even when I didn't want to have a good attitude through it, but I think, like I said before, like having a good support system to just kind of hold you up made a huge difference. But I truly think like having a more positive outlook and attitude helped me heal faster because they initially said that treatment would be anywhere between like 9 to 12 months, and then mine ended up being like way shorter than that. So, and it just, yeah, I just powered through. But like we said, you don't really have a choice. I was just like, I'm just gonna get through this as fast as I
Yeah.
possibly can. But
Yeah. I know attitude definitely played a big part in beating cancer. I'm super competitive,
yeah,
so like I just kind of took it as a game,
yeah,
honestly. Because at a certain point it was like, dude, okay, like the cancer just keeps coming back, like whatever.
yeah,
Like at this point I'm pretty like numb to it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. You don't have anything to lose
It
at that
goes on.
point. You're like, we're just
Yeah,
gonna,
like it's gone on for 7, 10 years, whatever. Like at this point, it's just part of my life. It's just normal that I'm trying to beat cancer,
yeah,
or that I am like actively beating cancer. It's just like a normal part of my whole life
yeah,
at this point,
yeah.
right? And so it always was just like, okay, I'm just gonna beat this,
Hmm.
right? Like I'm just gonna overcome this. It's just a game at this point. For example, I was in the hospital. When you get a bone marrow transplant, you're in the hospital quarantined for about like 30 days, for like a month. You're in the hospital. And
Dang.
basically, you get to a point, they do the actual transplant, which is like simply is just a blood
Yeah,
transfusion. It's not actual, like,
they're not digging in
they're
your bones.
removing your bones and putting more bones into your body. It's not like that. But basically, after that you go into like positive days, like day 1, day 2. You start like negative days, then day 0 is your transplant day, then you're into positive days, like 1, 2, 3, and then like there's a board, and they track like all the patients and what day they're on,
Yeah.
and it'll say like Dominique is expected to get out day 25 or something like that. And then
Oh,
of course
yeah.
of
You're like,
course
hmm.
I'm like, what is the fastest time that anybody's
Yeah,
ever
you're like,
gotten out of the
excuse me,
hospital?
what's the record? And I just want to
What's the
know what I need
record?
to beat. Yeah.
What? And so I was always just trying to beat that record. And the second time, it probably was honestly to my detriment,
Yeah.
because I was trying to beat the record, and then I was getting super frustrated because my blood counts were high enough, but I kept spiking fevers, so they wouldn't release me.
Yeah.
So then I was just extremely frustrated
Yeah.
and like totally like pissed off. And it was probably not helping the situation.
Yeah.
I was just frustrated. And this was probably like the darkest moment in my life.
Hmm.
And then so I go home after I basically forced them to like they put me on steroids to mask my fevers, and then they got me out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I weaned off the steroids, I was spiking fevers again. I was admitted to the hospital for
Yeah.
another week. They put me on antibiotics. They gave me like some type of other infection because they were trying to figure out they couldn't
Isn't
figure
it
out what was
crazy
going
how
on
it's
with
just
my
like a
body.
slippery slope? It's like this one medication causes this other symptom, and then they have to treat the symptom, but then that medication's going to cause this other thing. So it's like just all this like trickle down effect of like all these like symptoms and like ailments, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy how one thing just leads to another so quickly.
It's ridiculous. So I know we're running short on time. I have a couple more questions for
Okay.
you. I wanted to ask you, how has survivorship been as a mother?
Yeah.
How has that been going? I know you have a kid. How old is your kid now?
I have two.
So you have two
Yeah,
kids.
I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month old.
Right. So how has that been going with survivorship?
Oh gosh, it's such a huge blessing. I mean, when I got diagnosed at 18, like one of the potential risks of chemo was infertility. So that was just another huge like bomb that was thrown my way on that first day I was diagnosed. And as an 18-year-old, you're like, I haven't even thought about like not having the chance to have kids. You know, when you're a teenager, you're like, oh yeah, I want to have a family one day, but that just seems so far into the future. You're like, that's future me problem. Like, you don't really think you need to be making these decisions right then and there. So I had to make the decision to have my right ovary removed surgically before I started chemo. And that was like a new like trial thing going on at the time. So basically, they just removed my right ovary with all the eggs in it. They kept it frozen. So then in the future, when I was ready to have a family and I, like, if in case I became infertile from chemo, they can just take that ovary, put it back right in, attach it where it was, and it'll start acting normally again. And then potentially could get pregnant from that. So literally, like, so I beat cancer when I was 18 also, so 18 to 18. So all of my 20s, this was just kind of sitting in the back of my mind of like, I might not be able to have kids one day. So that like really, even though I didn't want to admit it, I think it affected a lot of my decisions I made, like when it came to dating and just kind of settling and even just like my self worth and self esteem. Because this was just like a huge question mark in my future that I had to navigate bringing up to boyfriends and partners and stuff, because it's a lot for someone to sign up for, you know, especially when you're in your early 20s. You're just like kind of having fun. But the thing with getting into relationships, it's like either you get married or you break up. So, I mean, everyone like that just needs to be a conversation.
Right.
So fast forward, met my husband and kind of gave him the whole rundown too, and like, hey, like, is because that's the thing too, you're like, you don't know if you have infertility unless you are trying to have kids. So like all my 20s, I'm like, obviously I'm not married or like ready to have a family yet, so like I said, it's all just a big question mark still. So um met my husband and we got married, and our minds were like, okay, we're gonna try to get pregnant like naturally for a year, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll like see about like getting my frozen ovary and putting it back in. 2 days after the wedding, before we even went on our honeymoon, like just we didn't plan it at all. I came back from the honeymoon. I was like, I'm kind of late on my period. Took a test and I was pregnant. And like we weren't even, like I say, we weren't even trying. it wasn't even like I thought we'd have to be like trying a bunch and like mapping out my ovulation and like doing all this stuff, seeing the doctor. I didn't have to set foot into a doctor's office to even talk about starting a family. Like, so that was such a God thing where I'm like, oh my God, this thing that I was like so worried about all of my 20s of like not being able to like be a mom one day. I didn't have to think about it. And it was just like, here you go. Like, have fun. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my son was definitely a huge blessing. And then with my second, same exact thing. Like we weren't trying. Like it.
Yeah.
Like I think my son was only he wasn't even one yet when I found out I was pregnant again, and it was just
Mhm.
like it was a shock because we're like, what? Like how are we gonna have two under two? This is gonna be wild. But then at the end of the day, it's also like kind of like a fun surprise. We're like, what are the chances that like we were able to get pregnant without even like stressing over it and being anxious over it? So needless to say, we're done now. I think just like to answer your question, yeah, like being a mom as a survivor, it just, I mean, being a mom in general is just so special and sweet. Like any parent, like it's just like this whole different type of love that just like like completely unlocked. But I think just being a survivor and like even just like being at a place in my life where I thought I wouldn't be able to have this, like it just like I said makes little things like so much sweeter. And yeah, it's been awesome.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Oh, maybe one day I'll be a parent.
Yeah, and if anything, like
Oh,
we're saying, like I hope I can like at least like be an inspiration to other girls in my position that are kind of dealing with the same thing of like, you know, all those big question marks, and it's a lot. And so it's like I wish I didn't worry about it so much in my 20s, because worrying about it doesn't make it any better.
they say worrying is negative goal setting.
Yeah, worrying is borrowing joy from tomorrow or something like that.
No, it's taking away the joy from today,
Oh
right?
yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
No, 100%. Like I've been working on this myself. Is just like staying present
Yeah.
because you can't do anything about the future, you can't do anything about the past, and then if you're living in those places, then you're not paying
Yeah, you're
attention
not
to
present.
everything that's happening right
Yeah.
now. And everything that's happening right now, like we just said earlier, we have so much right now to be grateful for,
Yeah.
and it's super important. One more question, and then I'm gonna let you cover your Survivors Girls Club.
Okay.
So, what is the best advice that you have ever gotten from somebody?
Oh man, best advice I've ever received. Hmm. What's yours? I need something to jog my memory.
Some of the best advice that I've ever gotten, my aunt that I currently live with. So, like, I'm a pretty intelligent person. Like, I was always pretty smart. I always got pretty good grades. Like, I never had problems like figuring things out or like self-esteem issues or whatever that looked
Mm.
like, right? And so, like, for me, like growing up, my dad would always tell me like you can do anything, like you can be good at anything. And so it kind of made it hard sometimes for me to make decisions, and sometimes I would be super indecisive because like no way you can be like the best or extremely great at everything in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like at some point, especially as you get older, like you have to have some type of priorities, some type of focuses, and you have to like make a decision. And so my aunt, she's a psychologist, she's a doctor. She told me, Dominique, you have to learn to make decisions and live with the consequences. You
Mm-hmm.
have to make decisions, you have to be decisive. You have to
Yeah.
make decisions and learn to live with the consequences, good and bad, and be able to live with that. And that was at a stage in my life when I was still trying to find myself. I think I probably had beaten cancer for the first time. And so I was like in between that. and I was trying to like figure out what I wanted to go to college for, and I was trying to figure out who I wanted to date,
Yeah.
things like that. And it was really hard for me to just like make solid decisions and just go all in with those decisions,
Hmm.
which now looking back was some of the best advice I've ever gotten. And nowadays, like when I do make decisions, I choose to go all in. Otherwise, like I won't do them at all. And
Yeah.
I realize the value of that and what that brings to the table as far as like making sound decisions. So that's the best advice I've ever gotten.
No, that's great. I'm still trying to think what mine is. Oh man, I don't know. I'm sure I'm just blanking. Like I know for a fact like my mom's given me good advice and I've gotten some from like gosh, some friends and teachers and whatnot. Can we skip this one? I don't know.
No, we can totally skip this.
I'm
It's
like
not a
everyone
big
in my
deal.
life is dumb. They don't give me good advice.
No, it's all good. It's not a big deal. And so the last thing I want you to do, right? You are, like we said earlier, you are the founder of the Survivor Girls Club.
Mhm.
What is that? Why do you do that? What does that entail? Tell us about it. How can people, right, be a part of that if they wanted to?
Yeah, so it's been a long time coming. Like I said, I beat cancer back in 2011. So it's been about, what, 13? No, 14 years? 13 years?
14.
Can't do math. Anyways, um, I kind of touched on this lightly, but essentially, like when I beat cancer and like started my survivorship life, I had no clue what the heck I was doing. I was just kind of beat bopping around like what happens now? Like nothing really prepared me for how hard survivorship would be. Like self-esteem issues, like my confidence, like kind of adjusting healthy habits, like dating and relationships, communication, even just like physical ailments, and then just dealing with all that trauma and anxiety as a result from all of it. Um, and I just never was handed like a playbook or a roadmap of like how to navigate everything. You know, you're dealing with survivor's guilt and you're dealing with kind of like you're this whole new person on the other side of cancer. You have to get in like because I think that was the hardest part. Where like nothing goes back to how it was before, as much as you think it does. Like when you're in cancer, you're so focused on getting better, and you're like, I just want to be cancer free. I just want to be better. I just want to be done with all this. And then once you're done with all of it, you're kind of like, now what? Who is this new person? Like, I don't recognize myself in the mirror. Like, I feel so disconnected from other people and just society in general. Like, what is going on? And so, as like an 18, 19-year old, like, I threw myself into college because I just felt so behind. Oh no, my ring light turned off. Um, it's probably just gonna die again. I felt so behind, and so I just was kind of dealing with everything the wrong way. I feel like so. Long story short, fast forward to now, I'm like, you know what? I really want to create a space for other girls like me because I just felt so lost. I had no one to turn to, no examples to look to. This is before social media was as big as it is now. So it's like I literally did not have any examples or any way of finding other people like me. So, especially like as girls, I feel like these are just such formative years in just like navigating your 20s and stuff after cancer. So, yeah, I just really wanted to create a space that I wish had existed when I was fresh into the survivorship world, just to kind of like, if I can just like help anyone out through those hard times or like help them avoid mistakes that I made, I would just love to do that. So it's an online community. It's hosted on Standstore. I might move it somewhere else, but I just basically I just launched it this year and I want it to grow into a space where girls can come and just connect with other girls who are survivors just like them and talk about I just want to think of it as like a group chat of other survivor girls where it's like you can talk about dating, relationships, how to bring up the cancer talk, how to talk about fertility, how to like address self-esteem and body issues, how to date yourself, how to fall back in love with yourself, how to get to know like who you are now, like what your interests are, because that was like the big thing that I had to figure out after cancer, was just being like, all right, who am I, what do I like, what do I want to do now. So yeah, I just kind of create create a safe space for women to just come and show up as their true selves and like connect with other girls like them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you do that. I'm glad. Like for me, this like cancer gave me more purpose in my life. And right, that's why like I did this podcast, was to share my story, but turn something like it's like a tragedy to triumph type
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
right? And to turn something that was so tough, so hard in my life, and turn it into something, turn it into a light, turn it into something positive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I see you're doing with your Survivor Girls Club. I wish I could have joined, but
You
no,
should just create a
no, I
Survivor
did.
Boys Club.
I know I should. I totally should.
You
I
should.
totally should. But I love that you do that. Last but not least, where can they find you on social media? Lex After Cancer,
Yeah,
right?
Lex After Cancer on Instagram and TikTok.
And TikTok. So go give your girl a follow
Yeah.
on TikTok and Instagram. That's all we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Thank you, Miss Lexi, for sharing your perspective on and sharing your story on going through cancer. I really appreciate you tonight. This was super helpful.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And make sure that you guys go check out the website, BeastvsZombie.com. 10% of all proceeds goes to cancer research and cancer awareness. So go check that out. Tank tops, all types of gear. Make sure you get yours today. That's all we have for you guys tonight. Be a beast.